Climate change is a global challenge demanding collective action. As we strive to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, a new policy tool is emerging, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, or CBAM. CBAM represents a novel approach to aligning trade policies with climate goals. Its implementation has the potential to reshape global trade and accelerate the transition to a low-carbon economy. The urgency of addressing climate change cannot be overstated. We must act decisively to curb emissions and mitigate the impacts of a warming planet. CBAM offers a pragmatic way to address carbon leakage, a phenomenon where industries relocate to countries with less stringent environmental regulations. This shift in production can undermine global efforts to reduce emissions. CBAM seeks to address this challenge by ensuring that the carbon content of imported goods is accurately accounted for and priced. By leveling the playing field between domestic and foreign producers, CBAM can prevent carbon-intensive production from simply shifting to countries with laxer environmental standards. At its core, CBAM is a mechanism designed to put a price on the carbon emissions embedded in imported goods. It aims to ensure that the cost of goods reflects their true environmental impact, regardless of where they are produced. This is achieved by imposing a levy on imports from countries with less stringent climate policies. The fundamental principle behind CBAM is to create a level playing field for domestic producers who are already subject to carbon pricing mechanisms. Without CBAM, these producers face a competitive disadvantage as they bear the cost of reducing emissions, while importers from countries with weaker climate policies do not. CBAM operates by requiring importers to purchase certificates for the embedded emissions in their goods. The price of these certificates is linked to the carbon price in the importing country or region, ensuring that imported goods face a similar carbon cost as domestically produced goods. By internalizing the environmental costs of production, CBAM incentivizes cleaner production practices both domestically and internationally. It encourages businesses to invest in low-carbon technologies and reduce their carbon footprint to remain competitive in the global market. The European Union, or EU, has emerged as a frontrunner in implementing CBAM. As part of its ambitious Green Deal, the EU launched its CBAM system, which came into effect in October 2023. The EU's CBAM initially targets a select group of carbon-intensive industries, including cement, iron and steel, aluminum, fertilizers, electricity and hydrogen. The choice of these industries is strategic. They are significant contributors to global greenhouse gas emissions and face a high risk of carbon leakage. By targeting these sectors, the EU aims to send a strong signal to its trading partners about the importance of aligning trade practices with climate objectives. The EU's CBAM is being phased in gradually. During the initial transitional phase, importers are required to report the embedded emissions of their goods. This reporting requirement aims to establish a baseline for emissions and allow businesses to adapt to the new system. Full implementation of the EU's CBAM is scheduled for 2026. From that point onwards, importers will need to purchase and surrender CBAM certificates corresponding to the carbon content of their imports. The price of these certificates will be determined by the EU Emissions Trading System, or ETS, the bloc's primary carbon pricing mechanism. Section 4. The mechanics of CBAM calculating carbon costs. The practical implementation of CBAM involves a complex process of calculating the carbon content of imported goods. This requires accurate data collection and verification to ensure transparency and prevent fraud. The EU's CBAM relies on a methodology that considers the emissions associated with the production process of the imported goods. Importers are required to obtain emissions data from their suppliers, tracing the carbon footprint throughout the supply chain. This data is then used to determine the number of CBAM certificates that need to be purchased. The price of these certificates is linked to the prevailing carbon price in the EU ETS, ensuring that imported goods face a comparable carbon cost to domestically produced goods. To ensure compliance, the EU's CBAM includes robust monitoring and reporting requirements. Importers are obligated to provide regular reports on their imports and the corresponding CBAM certificates purchased. Failure to comply with these requirements can result in penalties. The EU has established a dedicated authority responsible for overseeing the implementation and enforcement of CBAM. This authority plays a crucial role in ensuring the integrity of the system and addressing any disputes that may arise.